Welcome back. So just who are the Muslim Brotherhood and what do they want? Hugo McPherson reports.
The Muslim Brotherhood is one of Egypt's and the Arab world's most influential opposition movements. It's also one of the oldest, celebrating 80 years this year. It seeks to establish an Islamic government in Egypt. In the 80 years, the struggle to bring Islam into mainstream politics has seen some success. Although officially banned, the Brotherhood captured more than 20% of Egypt's parliament by fielding independent candidates in 2005.
Since their success in the 2005 elections, the Muslim Brotherhood have lived an unbelievable life, filled with prejudice and injustice and corruption, and have faced incredible bad treatment from those that call themselves Egypt rulers.
Dominating trade unions and civil society, the Muslim Brotherhood runs charities that provide food, healthcare and education for millions of Egypt's poor. But government crackdowns, police brutality, mass detentions and office closures have characterized decades of confrontation with Cairo. While Egypt provides the most loyal following, the Middle East is home to dozens of local support networks for the group. Its supporters are in the millions. Now, the new generations step up to swell the Brotherhood's ranks, and they want to be in politics like their forefathers. But it just might be another 80 years before that happens.
We're still joined by our guest in Cairo, Issam Al-Arian, a leading member of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, and in Washington, D.C., Michelle Don, Senior Associate at Carnegie and Editor of the Arab Reform Bulletin. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Michelle, the clampdown is seen by many who are following the political life in Egypt as one of the results of this shift in U.S. policy towards the region. We've seen Bush and Condoleezza Rice recently in Egypt. They haven't voiced the same concerns they used to voice, and they seem to have backpedaled on the pledge for more reform. Is this something that has given the government more leeway to continue the crackdown?
Well, I think it's true that the Bush administration showed a lot of interest and paid attention to political circumstances in Egypt, say from about 2003 to 2005. In 2006, there was a shift away from as much emphasis on democracy promotion in the Middle East. That was primarily, I believe, due to the election of Hamas in Palestine and not so much the Egyptian parliamentary elections of 2005. Recently, very recently, we've seen the Bush administration, I think, trying to revive President Bush's freedom agenda a little bit. He made a speech about it during his trip to the Middle East, and he made some remarks about democracy promotion in Egypt when he was in there. He noted, for example, the steps that the Egyptian government had taken against journalists, bloggers, judges, etc., which was a bit unusual for him to be standing side by side with President Mubarak and criticizing conditions in Egypt. I would also note, by the way, that
but many observers were really very embarrassed and disappointed. They were expecting Bush to talk more and devote most of his speeches in the area talking about implementing political reform, which was not the case. Let me go back to Mr. Issam Al-Arian because we need to talk a little bit about the Ikhwan, the Muslim Brotherhood. Mr. Issam, you're credited as Muslim Brotherhood for your social network and charity and social help provided to the nation throughout the last 8 decades. The problem is that you have failed to sell your ideas, your vision to the Egyptians. What's the problem? Why the Egyptians don't believe in you guys?
No, Egyptians believe in our vision. And the most important thing in our history is our ideas, our thoughts. And this is, by any means, you can monitor the Egyptian society is shifted to be more supporting our ideas, not only due to gifts or charity activities.
Well, let me show you an example. Mr. Issam, let me show you an example. While you have the support of a lot of Egyptians, you've presented your platform in 2004 where you talked about the Islamic State. You alienated the Christian community and the secular opposition. Last year, 2007, you presented your 2007 platform where you're still not clear about your agenda as Muslim Brotherhood when you come to power.
Power is not our ultimate goal. Change and reform is the
Everybody said the same thing years ago.
For us. No, Muslim Brotherhood is not only a political power. It is not a political party. We are different than those political parties who are licensed or seeking power only. We are seeking change and reform in the society and building a renaissance in this country and this area depending on Islamic principles. And when you are looking now for the Egyptian society or any Arab country, you find that the most important issue now is Islam in the life of the people. And they are changing their individual life and their society according to the Islamic agenda, even if they are not joining Muslim Brotherhood as members.
Got your idea, Mr. Issam.
Let me back to your question about Bush administration. I think Bush administration, it is now against any democratic reform. They are supporting the dictatorship. They failed even to free one political figure in Cairo, in Egypt, who is Ayman Noor.
Which was basically what Michelle was referring to when she was talking about...
And he is not belonging to Muslim Brotherhood.
Michelle, the Muslim Brotherhood has a platform. Aren't you concerned that this platform, if implemented in the future, once they come to power, if they come to power, could alienate the Copts and could create further destabilization or instability in the country?
Well, I think there are a lot of questions about the program of the Muslim Brotherhood that was recently announced. I believe it is still considered a draft and not necessarily the final program. It seems that there has been a lot of ferment inside the Brotherhood in recent years, different ideas, some very reformist ideas, some more conservative ideas. And it seemed that in the recent platform that was announced, some of the more conservative ideas seem to be on the ascendant. For example, the idea of having a council of religious scholars who would review legislation in the parliament. A couple of other ideas there. The Brotherhood, I believe, has sort of backed off on whether it would be acceptable, for example, to have a Christian or a woman as president of the country. So there seems to be an ongoing debate inside the organization. Because of this, we sometimes hear different figures in the Brotherhood giving different positions and different documents that are put out. You mentioned 2004. There were also Brotherhood platforms in 2005. And 2007. And so I think this is creating a certain degree of confusion about where the Brotherhood is going.
Exactly, and this is something that the Brotherhood doesn't seem to be willing to be very specific and clear about. Mr. Issam, even those who support you are saying, let me just finish my question, please. Those who support you are saying that you don't learn from the lessons of history. You could have done exactly what Justice and Development has done in Morocco, or the Islamic Party in Turkey, where they distanced themselves from their past and adopted a new, fresh vision and a new, fresh platform, which was instrumental to their political presence. Why don't you do the same thing?
I think we get lessons from all peoples. We are not proud of about our history only. We are taking lessons from every country, from any Islamic organization in Morocco, in Turkey, and everywhere. And let me say something to be clarifying a point Michel raised, which is about the Council of the Scholars. This is eliminated. And it is now, we are agreed, all the organization, that this point was put in the wrong place in the platform. The platform is still a draft, and there is ongoing questions and discussions about it inside our organization, about inside Muslim Brotherhood, and with the intellectual in the society.
Did you have any chance, opportunity, Mr. Issam? Did you have any opportunity to talk to the Americans and the Europeans about your new platform, because they have a lot of concerns and questions that they would like to ask you?
we are open, our doors are open for every researcher, and many from Carnegie come to us to discuss us, and some of our colleagues were invited. But unfortunately, some of the most important figures are prevented from traveling in Egypt, according to the police state which we are living in. Myself, I am prevented since more than 3 or 4 years from traveling.
Okay.
So we welcome anybody who can come to discuss with us this platform.
And you will explain to him.
Let me clearly say that this platform is for Egypt. It is not for the Europeans or for the Americans. It is for the Egyptians and
Exactly.
for Egypt's country. Yes.
But you know that in international politics, you can't just come and implement your own ideas. You need to have the backing and the understanding of the international community. We're in a global village. Michel, why the international community doesn't seem to be willing to listen to the Muslim Brotherhood the same way they are listening to the Islamist parties in Morocco or Turkey?
I mean, the situation is that on the part of the United States, for example, and also I believe this is true of European states, that the United States government and assistance programs have definitely worked with Islamist parties who are legal parties and who are participating in politics, be it Turkey, Morocco, Yemen, Jordan, many places in the region. In the particular case of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, I think it's a difficult case for the United States because the Muslim Brotherhood is an illegal organization, although we are aware that it is, in fact, the most important opposition movement in Egypt. But the Egyptian government keeps it an illegal organization, and so that makes it a bit difficult for foreigners. I mean, certainly we can talk to the Brotherhood, but to work with them as actively as we work with legal political parties is a
very
bit
difficult to tell now. Exactly. Mr. Aissam, let me ask you this question. If you come to power tomorrow or after tomorrow, will you honor the same deals that were signed between Israel and Egypt? Will you implement a Sharia law in your country?
I don't like iffy questions, sir, and I think power is not our aim now, and there is no way for any Egyptian political group or social group to come to power in the incoming future or near future. So we are looking for supporting our people who are suffering a lot from dictatorship, from corruption, from the soaring of the prices, from everything. The political party, NDP, ruling party, is forecasting everything in this country. The arresting of people today before dawn, about 16 of our members were arrested from their homes to raise the number of the detainees to more than 300 before the local elections. This is our main goal now to avoid this corruption and to fight against dictatorship.
Mr. Aissam Al-Aryan in Cairo, Michel Don in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much indeed for your contribution. Thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. We welcome your comments and suggestions. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Goodbye for now.